Good morning. My name is Wesley James. I'm a meteorologist on the night watch of the 24/7 Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center in New York. Current time is 10 GMT on the 2nd of January 2023. Happy New Year, by the way. And today's weather briefing will be a coverage of the North Atlantic Basin, focusing on the North Atlantic Gale track. As we can see here in IR image of the current weather in the North Atlantic, a gale and many more like this uh, persist with sweeping cold fronts, and we are in a neutral North Atlantic oscillation. All that means to you and me is that these systems are going to continue on a northeast to north-northeast track through the North Atlantic Basin, and they're not going to stagnate off the coast of southern Greenland, which is actually good for shipping. It gives us windows of lighter weather to navigate around. Having some breaks in prevailing conditions can be helpful for marine routing. This here is a surface analysis courtesy of the Ocean Prediction Center. And while this can be quite noisy, what I wanted to show here is the movement of all of these lows that we have tracked here. So you can see off the coast of Greenland and just south, we have two lows. They're all moving in the same direction, and this is why we can call this a gale track. So a series of gales are moving in a somewhat predictable pattern, and while because there's so many lows interacting with each other, the exact position can be quite tricky. Each moving part adds a lot of error in the forecast. However, we do know that inclement conditions will move northeast across the North Atlantic and produce inclement weather along all of these cold frontal boundaries, which are extending south and southwest from these low centers. And so we can view this live in, this is GFS product, our internal forecast product, Otis, where we have the legend off on the right for significant wave height in shading. And then we have winds in barbs and pressure lines in solid black contours. And can progress this forward in time, 12-hour time steps. We can see 4 and 5, even 6 meter seas on the southern quadrants of these lows as they interact with the subtropical high. These persist along 30 north latitude over the Azores Islands and off of the Carolinas. This, just like the lows, are a persisting feature through the season. And what we get because of this is every cold front is going to be associated with a strong gradient ahead of the front, and then a significant wind shift behind. You can get heavy seas on both sides, and even cross seas with these fronts as you get a mix of wind and swell waves. So these can be pretty dangerous conditions that we look out for during the winter season in the North Atlantic. But the silver lining in a neutral NAO, or North Atlantic phase, is that we're getting breaks to get vessels in and out of the English Channel. And so with a little bit of speeding up or slowing down, we've been able to get traffic in and out of here relatively quickly without too much waiting. The rest of the North Atlantic remains pretty quiet, actually. For the entire Mediterranean and Black Sea, we do get light conditions through the forecast period up until the 5th at 0Z. We're getting conditions for a Mistral wind event. This happens when you get a low pressure and high pressure combo, which makes a pressure gradient, which will force winds through the mountainous terrain. That was a very crude drawing, but I hope you can follow. And so if this low ends up in the North Sea and southern Baltic Sea, we will get these Mistral winds on the 5th, which is something that we are looking out for. later this week. And the remainder of the southern portion of the Atlantic uh, is prevailing trade winds of moderate to strong strength, and these are veering more northward as they approach the Gulf of Mexico. That is it for today's forecast discussion on the North Atlantic. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay connected and safe.